everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video we are doing another kind of tour slash walkthrough slash see how things are organized. Lots of slashes in there. I just wanted to briefly show you guys how I organize my inks and just kind of my thought process with those. So let's get into it. So first things first, I have these 3 carousels here. These are all purchased from, and including these 2 drawers right here, those are all purchased from Stamp & Storage. I really like the quality of their products, the design of them, the organization of them, the size, just the whole like engineering and thought process that went into them. I really can appreciate and very grateful for, and have worked really well in my craft room for how I craft and how I organize. So if you've watched any of my previous videos, y'all know that I am not a colorist. I really enjoy stencils. Once in a blue moon, I want to color, but for the most part, I really enjoy stencils. And so for me, investing in all of the ink colors is where I spend a lot of my money. So I do have, for me as a hobbyist, doing this as a hobby, not as a job, I feel like I've got a good number of inks. And so when I find an ink line that I really love the inks, I will usually get them in the full-size ink pads, and I will get the re-inkers with them. If I'm just purchasing the mini ink cubes, I typically don't buy the re-inker. I just don't have the room for all of that. So I have 3 ink lines that I really enjoy, and so I have their full-size ink pads. I have my Distress Oxides, I have my Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated inks, and then I have Concord and Ninth. And that's how I store these. Now, in this carousel, with my Positively Saturated inks, I do have the regular mini ink cubes for the regular Simon Says Stamp inks. I don't have those in a large size. I just prefer these better. But that's just me. But these will hold the regular sized, the large ink pads of the Simon Says Stamp of the regular inks. I just don't have those. I really like the Positively Saturated line. And then here I have my Concord and Ninth, and Simon just recently released some new colors, so I have had some of my Positively Saturated inks spill over into this. These carousels do come in white now from Stamp & Storage, but I didn't feel, at the time I bought 2 of them, they didn't have that option. They do now. I still go ahead and get the one that's plain just because it saves me a few bucks. But you do have the option to get it painted white. These also, I believe, come in white now. Same kind of concept. They were not there available in white when I purchased them, but they are available in white now. So let me talk to you a little bit about how I organize these. Obviously, they're organized into brands, but one of the things that I do is I go ahead and stamp out a, I guess, swatch of the color and then put the name on it, because more often than not, that color that they print on the label is typically not the color that it actually stamps. That one's actually fairly close, but or the color that's on the lid. I'm sure that in the manufacturing process, it is very difficult to get those to be exact. And so I prefer just to go ahead and stamp out a little swatch, and then I use my Brother label maker. I've had this label maker for a long time, and it is extremely useful as far as organizing goes. And I find it to be a tool that I would be kind of lost without as far as keeping me organized. So I just print it out on a clear label with either black or white ink. You do have the option to have it print in white. And then I go ahead and stick the label on there. And if the label is too short, I've cut it too short or what have you, I just take clear packing tape and put that over the top of it and then trim off the excess. So that's how I organize those. That's also how I organize these. I have not done this for the mini ink cubes, but I have the regular size ink cube right next to it, and I can see what the color is there. This is a good example of how what it stamps like is not necessarily what the color looks like. again, that's no fault of the company. That's no like oversight or error. I'm sure it's just incredibly difficult in the manufacturing process to get those to be the same. One of the other things that I do, this isn't really necessarily inks, but it is inky related. I store my mini ink blending brushes in well, first off, I got the mini ink blending brushes, this container, and the larger blending brushes, all from Amazon. At the time these blending brushes came out, I can't remember what company. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe Pink for Studio or Simon had them out first. And they were just way more expensive than I wanted to pay. And so I found more cost-effective versions for myself on Amazon. And I did the same thing. I printed a little label and put that on the side of the brush. Obviously, these are color coordinated, but these were not. And so I just printed out a little label and stuck that on the side. Now I know that I can use all of my inks with all of my yellow inks with this one. These are for my regular dye inks, and then I have a separate one for my oxides. When I go, let's talk about these first, I guess. These are also purchased from Stamp & Storage. You can put a little label on there to tell you what's inside. They do have ones that are laid out a little different. This one is, meant for, in my case, inks all the way through, but they have ones that have larger drawers or open sections, that kind of thing. But I wanted these mainly because I knew I was going to be storing mini ink cubes in them. And I just used, again, my label maker. This is all chock full of my label maker to put what company was in there. So these are where I store my Catherine Pooler inks. They are in a little, I think this is an accessory tray, also from Stamp & Storage. And you can get 4 to a row in here. And that's how I store these, because these are kind of an odd size compared to the rest of the other companies' mini ink pads. Those are kind of an odd size. And I did the same for these archival inks. I don't use archival inks very often, but these you can get 6 in a row. Lawn Fawn, here's a good example. So for Lawn Fawn, this is also purchased from Stamp & Storage. This is a little grid that goes inside these drawers, and you can store your, your 1x1 mini ink cubes in there. Again, this has been wonderful for me as far as keeping things organized, letting me know what I have, because in the past I have purchased repeats of things because I just couldn't see everything that I had. And so this has been an invaluable tool for me as far as keeping me organized. And I have some spare drawers, and when I transitioned some things over to these carousels, I had spares of these little organizers left, and I just keep them in there because companies continue to come out with new things. And like I said, I invest in ink colors because I like to ink blend and stencil more than I like to color with markers. So that's where I kind of spend my money. Last little thing is how I do my ink swatches, how I know what it is what color is what. Sorry, I'm going to make you all dizzy. Sorry about that. So I have this little stamp set. This is from Waffle Flower, and it is called, hold on, wait for it. Color Combos for Ink Pads is what it's called. But I use this stamp right here, and I do my swatches. My swatches come from Jennifer McGuire. She is so generous and has printouts of all of the companies out there, all the companies that have ink pads. She has a free printable on her website, and that's where I get mine. And so I go through and I print out when a company comes out with new inks. I print that out that she supplies us because, again, she is the GOAT. And I use that stamp set to stamp out my swatches. I have organized these in 2 ways. So I have all of pinks here from all of the companies, excuse me, that I have. I have all of my pinks here. We're going to flip you around. I have all of my pinks. But then, and it goes, in rainbow order, orange, yellow, green, whatever, purple. Here we go. So for companies that sell their inks in sets, okay, that are meant to blend, that are meant to go together, I like to stamp those out twice. I like to swatch those twice. So I like to have them in where all of the colors can be found. So if I'm looking for a particular color, I can go to where all of my pinks are. If I'm looking for a particular shade of green, I can go where all of my greens are. But if I want to go by company, or if I'm wanting to go by something that I know will layer well on top of one another, then I go to this section of my little swatch book. And this is just a 3-ring binder that I purchased off of, I think, from Walmart, actually. And these are little coin pouches, and I purchased those off of Amazon. And so I swatched them twice. Once to go in this spot where everything goes, where all of that same kind of shade goes, and then once to go where they are meant to layer together. So Altenew is a good example of this. Altenew is a company that sells their inks in sets of 4, because they are meant to layer on top of one another and build this beautiful, lovely dimensional gradient. And so I want to know that if I need something that's going to layer on top of one another, and I need maybe 4 colors, or maybe I need 3, then I can go here. And I have Altenew, I have my Distress Oxides, just because Distress Oxides are a different breed. Not necessarily that they were meant to like layer on top of one another for layered stamping, but because they're such a different breed of ink. And then I have my Pink Fresh Studio ones. Those are meant to layer on top of one another. Those come in sets of 4. And then I also have my Ranger Archival inks, again, just because they are a different style and kind of ink. And then I have my saturated inks from Simon. And those are sold in sets of 3. And again, if I want a particular kind of color palette that I know will layer on top of one another, I can come here. Or if I want to use a particular company, maybe I haven't used my Altenew inks in a long time, and I want to use my Altenew inks, I can go right to that section and be good to go. So that is kind of how I organize my inks, how I swatch them, how, what tools I use to organize them, and so on and so forth. Just a really quick kind of overview of them. I hope that was helpful to you. I hope that maybe gave you some ideas on resources that you can go to, Amazon, Stampin' Storage, and some ideas on how you can organize them. Jennifer McGuire's website. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, I appreciate your time, and we will see you next time. Bye.